Here's some music. Rattle Patch Kids. I gotta watch my footsteps because I don't want to step on any rattlesnakes. All right. We are going for a stroll in Mother Nature. Should have brought my water. Should be okay. All right. Look at this beautiful view. What a beautiful day to be alive. Thank you, Spirit, Source, the energy who created all of this. It's fascinating. Whew. I love being in the reserves. Okay, that's better. I gotta watch my step because one, I don't want to fall. Two, rattlesnakes are a thing here, so I don't want to step on any rattlesnakes. And I don't know why I'm huffing and puffing. I got a backpack on. I'm in the mountains. I love it. We hear coyotes, and beautiful animals. However, I have a Chihuahua Jack Russell, and I get worried sometimes. All right, hopefully I don't slip. How are you? Oh, that's better. What a beautiful day. Wow. We're getting our driveway done, and I was gonna go live, but I'm just like, I want to do it where there's quiet, not a lot of distraction, and I'm about to tell myself why I created the ER playground, why Rattlebee exists, and sometimes I just need to tell it to myself because it's a journey. Hi, how are you? Thank you for being here. I hope your day is going amazing. You deserve the best. I've been taking my pups on this really cool trail that I found, and that's where we're gonna go today. Whew, damn. Maybe because I have this backpack on. Sheesh. As always, take what resonates. I'm reflecting to myself. However, I've been telling myself I do have a goal to build community, and I think part of that is I gotta go back out there and have a human connection. So that's why comments are on, but please be kind. I went live, I don't know, a few months ago in California, and I did have the Rattlebone skull mask on. I don't know if that scared someone, but I got a vomit emoji and I'm just like, what is that? I don't understand. I don't understand unkindness. But I just graduated from my leadership program, and God, that was so intense. And just hearing other people's story, and for a long time, I thought I was an outsider. But being with these beautiful souls, men and the females, I'm not alone. And maybe you can resonate just life. And I look at the analytics on YouTube and my audience, 30s and 40s. So maybe you get it. Life is just hard and challenging. So being able to hold this space for my brothers and sisters was an honor, and I'm grateful. So part of why we have comments off, because I want this to be a sacred space. And I feel like there's enough toxicity in the world, and I don't really want to bring it here on this platform. So, just to give a little download about myself, hello, my name is Dr. Rattle, death of the ego, the birth of the inner child. And I'm sure you've seen my inner child, Rattlebee, and he represents that we are bone underneath this meat flesh. Our brain, service. I didn't think about that. Back up. Maybe we won't go to my little hideaway. All right, reverse. I don't want to lose perception. All right. We'll go with the flow. That's what we do here. We just go with the flow. So where can I set up camp? Let's see here. And I can't really see the comments because it's really bright out. And welcome to the ER Playground. Here we believe issues in the tissues. And what does that mean? Suppressed energy locked in the body. Grief, heartbreak, anxiety, depression. I mean, there's a whole list of suppressed energy, but also joy, creativity, not having a space where you can just be yourself. Damn, it's hot out here. Fuck. All right, we're gonna go up here. Sorry about the internet. I didn't get that one through. All right, we're almost there. So ER means embodied release, meaning the example I can share. It's not about perfection, and I believe, especially the 30 and 40-year-olds, you get it. I feel like we try enough to be perfect. Example, making sure we drive the speed limit, making sure we show up on time for work, making sure we get the deadline done, or making sure we are the best parent or spouse. So in the ER playground, that's why I say it's not about perfection. All right, let's set up camp here. All right, how are we doing? I want to make sure everyone feels seen. All right. This is pretty cool. Let's set up camp here. When I was a kid, I would be outside 24/7, 7 days a week. And originally, I'm from Virginia, so I was always in the woods playing and exploring. And I remember just having imaginary friends, like sticks, and pretending they were like action figures. So it feels really nice just to be out in nature. All right, let's turn it this way. All right, and I cannot see Dooley Squat. All right, how we doing, Rattle Patch Kids? What a journey. I have to say, I was really nervous to go live. Well, not really nervous, but just to open up the chat because my nervous system is just fried. And I just desire kindness. And I've always been someone who would treat people with respect. That's just how I was raised. And so when I see disrespect, I'm just like, I don't get it. So now that I'm sitting, now I'm not huffing and puffing, I can just connect with myself and to whomever else is here. And if you vibe with this energy, consider becoming a Rattle Patch Kid. And this energy is all about showing up for yourself and being kind to yourself and showing up for your inner child. And maybe you had never heard of that word of inner child. And the best way I can really explain it to myself, it's like Rugrats, Rugrats. Those were adults creating that cartoon. And those are adults who do the voices, inner child. Another good example would be Scooby Doo, Mickey Mouse. How many of us ever been to Disneyland, put on the ears, and took pictures with Mickey? Yeah, inner child. And for all my superhero lovers, Marvel, Batman, Spider Man, I mean, the list goes on. And Rattlebee, he is my superhero because I'm him and he's me. And we just have such a beautiful connection. And he's been with me since I was born on this earth. So, as I was stating, 25 years in the healthcare world, and I actually started out in dietary. I was in high school and I wanted to have my own money, and I need a job because I don't like relying on people. I think part of it is just from my trauma. Like, I have a hard time trusting people, and I feel like every time I trust someone, they're going to leave me. So I just have this independence in me. So anyway, I started out in dietary, and I did not like it at all. I thought the uniforms were just not my forte. I don't really like to use the word ugly because I think that's just a low vibration, but I would just say those outfits were just not for me. We had these big white shirts, kind of like a white shirt that I'm wearing right now, but it's not like this. But anyway, it had dietary on, and then we had to wear these black scrubs, and yeah, and then I worked on the lockdown unit, dementia and Alzheimer's, and what a world. And it was so fascinating to me to go into the patients' rooms and seeing the pictures on the wall of their younger selves or like wedding pictures. And I've always told myself, wow, what a dream. Like, I would love to have like my lifetime, I don't know, printed out on the walls. And it was also really sad though. It was sad because to lose your memory or not to remember like your loved ones, I cannot imagine. Oh my God. Hence why I try so hard to take care of my body. Part of that is my brain, which means I don't like feeding my brain toxic energy. Um, but anyway, I was working on diet on the lockdown unit, and I remember just like yesterday. There was this patient and he was struggling to eat, and I wanted to help him so bad. And I didn't know about like nursing or CNAs or resident helpers. I just thought, oh, I can just go over there and help him eat. And if you're in healthcare, but meaning short staffed. I mean, it's been going on since I can remember, and I feel like it's gotten worse. But anyway, I went up there to go feed the patient, and the nurse was like, "You can't feed him." I'm like, "What? What did I do?" They're like, "You gotta become a CNA, or you gotta have a license." And I'm like, yeah, no, no thanks, I'm not doing that. And so, you look like an agent of the state. Are you an ex FBI? No, I'm not. And greetings, how are you? Um, so anyway, I just kept seeing the same patient and I kept seeing him struggle with his struggle eating. And my friend, her name was Ashley, she came to work one day and her face was like purplish. And I'm like, Ashley, what happened? And she was like, oh, you don't need to know about it. And I'm like, come on, what's going on? And anyway, she told me that her boyfriend was beating her. And my heart just fell out of my body because my mom, I guess I was triggered because my mom went through abuse, deep, like bad abuse. And I don't know whoever's witnessing this, if your mom or your dad, or maybe you went through physical abuse. Um, so seeing that, it just rattled my cage. And I just said, I want to help people. Like, I want to help people. And I feel like there's so much more in me that I want to do. And don't get me wrong, it was cool serving, dish food and stuff and dietary, but I was really bored. And so I got my resident, what's it called? Resident helper. That's what it was. A resident helper. And basically, what that does, you answer call lights, you pass out ice. I still wasn't allowed to feed until I got my CNA and then later on nursing, but I was able to sit with the patient and just redirect and put the silverware in their hands. And I found so much joy in that. And his family was so sweet, and his wife, I, she would cry. And why would she cry? Because he didn't really remember her. And I thought it was just sad. And then eventually, again, if you're in healthcare, maybe you see this, but eventually she kind of stopped visiting him because I think it was just painful. And so I did resident helper for a while. And oh my gosh, just being on the lockdown unit and seeing this patients talk to doll babies, that was big. Like, I saw a lot of patients talk to doll babies and feeding them and burping them, and I thought it was just so interesting. Like, it feels like we go backwards almost, just wearing I don't want to say diapers, but briefs and having people take care of you. It's just interesting. But anyway, I wanted to do more. I was tired of doing resident helper. And in my high school, we had the CNA program. And originally, I'm from Virginia. But anyway, we I did my got my CNA license, and whoa, a different freaking ball game. Just your body, man, your body takes a toll. And, not all these patients were little 60-pound little ladies or men. I took care of both. I mean, we had just behaviors. We would get hit, we would get scratched, I mean, we would get called names. I mean, and then just seeing death for the first time is just whoa. Um, so I have experience. And why am I stating all this? Because I just didn't show up and say, oh, I want to make the ER playground. I had no idea I wanted to do this. I thought I would go become get my RN and be a registered nurse and start my own practice. I never thought in a million years I would be talking about rattle bones and having an ER playground. Never thought that. But anyway, so I did CNA. I was a CNA for a long time. And I saw the nurses hustling and passing meds and then being into the next room. And I said, I don't know if I want to do that because I miss having the connection with the patients. And I feel like when you're a CNA, you have more time to really spend with the patients. And I really, really loved brushing their hair and brushing their teeth. Or if they didn't have teeth, putting their dentures. And I would love just making them look nice for their family, making the bed and just, I don't know, just really enjoyed it. And yeah, so I did that for a while. And then I moved from Virginia to where I'm at now because I just needed a fresh start and I needed to get away. I don't know if anyone can relate where you just been in a toxic environment for a very long time and you just needed a fresh start. And I was scared shitless. And what really caused me to leave is that my dad, he adopted me when I was 4, and I call him my dad because he is my dad. My biological father, no idea. He wanted nothing to do with me. And so just to piggyback that feeling of not feeling good enough. I don't know, especially my brothers. I don't know if you can relate if your dad left you or left your mom and that feeling of, am I not good enough? Or is that more important? My dad, well, my biological father, he loved football. And in high school, that was my mom had me when she was 16. God, at such a young age. And so now I have compassion, I get it, but there was a very, very long time where I was just so angry. And I blamed him for a long time of just of what happened to my mother and I. And I would tell myself, well, maybe if he was in my life, maybe X, Y, and Z wouldn't have happened. I know that's not healthy, but at the time, that was my thought process. So anyway, my my dad, he adopted me when I was 4. His name was Mark, and I met him, and I don't know how to really explain it, but I just gravitated towards him. I remember running up to him and grabbing on his leg, and I feel like we have met in a different world before. And knowing what I know now, I just feel like that was just part of the contract of, I don't know how to say this, but like from what I've been learning from Dolores Cannon is that we have contracts here. And I feel like that was my dad's contract. And I feel like that's why I was so connected to him. But my dad, oh my gosh, we just had a blast, and he was my best friend, and he treated my mom so beautiful. Like, he just loved my mom so much, but my mom didn't really love herself, and I don't know if anyone can relate. You are what is this? You are alone, bro. Thank you. I don't know what that means. But anyway, my mom, she had a really messed up childhood, and her parents, I don't think she knew her dad, and her mom would beat her, and I just feel like it's a cycle. And I told myself, I do not want to be in that cycle. So, anyway, my mom, unfortunately, she went back to what she was used to, a man just treating her like crap. And she cheated on my dad, and it destroyed him. And I believe part of what happened to my dad's passing from the alcohol, him being an alcoholic, was my mom breaking his heart. And again, I'm just talking to myself, reflecting my journey, and take what resonates. And so I think they were married for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. And my mom just went back to what she was used to. And, but when my dad and I were together, I would watch Michael Jackson all the time. And my dad would invite his buddies over, his buddy Jerry and his other buddy Bill. And at the time, my dad had this tape recorder, and I would just embody and not sing Michael or Whitney or Mariah or Al Green or the Beatles, Prince. I mean, the list goes on, but I would just embody it. And my dad would record me, and I did not know where those videos are. They're somewhere lost. Anyway, and it was just so much fun. And my dad, I just felt so safe with my dad. And my dad would blast Guns N' Roses, and we would watch, God, what would we watch together? I don't know. My dad loved Cops, but we would watch Cops, and we would watch um, the X Files. God. And I don't know why, but I loved watching Discovery Channel with my dad about like the planet and about animals. And I remember in Virginia, I would ask my dad because he would always go out on the deck and he would drink his beer and look out the stars. And where we were out in the boonsticks. And so the stars were so beautiful. And I would just ask him, Dad, where do we come from? And who named a lion lion? And why is the sky called sky? And just having all of these, this, I don't know, I just had so much interest of here, like, what is this place? And I'm like, what happens to us when we die? And so very young, I was always curious about death. And I knew I wanted to help people. And here we are. And so my dad and I were just like this. And my dad would hang out in his shed. I don't know if anyone has a parent, or maybe it's you. You go to your little sacred spot, you put on your favorite song, and you just kind of like vibe. But anyway, in that shed, we had a toy chest and a shortage of haircut workers that there's no shortage of healthcare workers, just a shortage of healthcare workers that will. I hear you, but that wasn't my experience. So again, take what resonates. Um, so anyway, in this shed, I had this cool toy chest, and I loved Halloween. I loved dressing up, and I loved Power Rangers. I was obsessed with Power Rangers. I remember like being asleep, like I was asleep, and then I would hear the Power Rangers come on the TV on Fox 5, and I would hear "Go Go Power Rangers." I'm like, oh, I want to get up and I want to move. And I remember like trying to throw myself on the floor so I can wake up. It was such an interesting feeling. But anyway, so I would run out there and watch Power Rangers, and I love Tommy Oliver. He was my superhero that I just admired. And so anyway, I had his costumes, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, and I would wear those costumes until I couldn't. So back then, Power Rangers was my go-to. Spider-Man, Batman, cool, but I wasn't like obsessed like I was with Power Rangers. And I think what I really liked about Power Rangers is that there were different colors and they were just different ethnic groups, and it was just beautiful to see diversity. And so anyway, um my dad lost we lost contact with each other, meaning my mom, she I don't know, my mom just went downhill. She got a job. My mom loved doing makeup, and she used to work at this store called People's. And also, my mom loved to sing. And I don't remember too many beautiful memories of my mom and I, but the ones that I do remember, my mama loved to clean, and so she would have the windows open, and she would be blast. I mean, the house would freaking vibrate, but she would be blasting Mariah, Whitney, Celine Dion, Boys to Men, and I'm sure there's many artists that I'm forgetting, but those are like the main ones that she always listened to. But anyway, um, my mom would disappear. I wouldn't see her for weeks, and then she'll pop up randomly, and it was just so interesting. And so I feel like my mom's relationship, we started to fade. And so one day I was at the babysitter's, and there's so much more details, but just to like bring myself up to speed, she came to the babysitter's where I was at, and she said, "Okay, pack your bags, we're leaving." And I'm like, "What?" I think I was like 6 or 7 at this time. And so we go to my dad's house where we were staying, and she had a big moving truck, and she was taking out all the furniture that my dad bought, and she cleaned house. And I'm like, "Mom, what's going on?" And she's like, "Well, I met someone new, and that's going to be your new dad." Could you imagine? And so, of course, at that young age, I did not know what was going on. I did not understand that language. And so, yeah, we, my mom took me to this, it looked like a house was like burnt down, and there was like people all in the house. It was dark. People were smoking and drinking. And again, a 6 year old should not be there. But there I was. And I remember it so clearly. Like, my mom's new boyfriend was on the couch. He had a blunt and he had this neon green shirt. And it looked like Tupac or Biggie. I think it was Biggie. When he, but a baby version of Biggie. He had a diaper on and he had a big old afro with a pick. And my mom's like, "Well, there he is. That's your new dad." And it's like, oh shit. Okay. It was just so weird. I don't know how to explain what I felt. I felt scared. I felt this is not good. Just the energy alone, it it was just, I don't know. I knew whatever was about to happen was going to be toxic as fuck. Oops, I'm trying not to cuss, but toxic. And so I did not want to call him dad. And my mom said, "You're going to call him dad." I actually remember getting smacked because I said I wasn't going to call him dad. And my mom never hit me until that moment. And I was like, what? And so, moral to that story, my mom's boyfriend was toxic. He would beat her, cheat on her. And what I didn't understand is that how can someone say they love someone and then treat them like that? My brain still doesn't process that because that's not love. And I would watch I Love Lucy all the time and how Ricky treated Lucy. I'm like, oh, just that fairy tale. But that wasn't my life. So, wow, what a journey. I can't remember. I can't believe I remember all that. But yeah, then my mom's boyfriend went to boot camp and he came back and he was worse than before. And my punishment, until he started hitting me, I would do like mountain climbers all night. And granted, I was also in school and it was just torture. So moving forward, my there was this really, really big fight that my mom and her boyfriend got into, and remind myself that I didn't see my dad for years. And we finally, this fight that happened, the cops were able to find my dad and we were able to reconnect. But anyway, right before I moved to Virginia, right before I moved to where I'm at now, my mom and I were okay. But I remember it was February and I was actually doing really good with myself. I was in high school, I was on the track team, I was playing sports, I was making friends, I was trying to get back my life because my life was so just sheltered, like being homeless and living in hotels, and it was just wild. And I also had siblings I was taking care of. And so nursing to me actually really started when I was, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, taking care of my sister. And my mom would go out and party and do all these things. But anyway, so I was like, "Mom, can you fly me to the airport?" And she was like, "Yeah, I can fly you to the airport, but do you think we can go by?" I'm not gonna say my mom's boyfriend's name. I'll give him a name, James. Can we go by James's house? I've been texting him. He's not answering his phone, and I'm just like, "Mom, like, what do you think's happening? I don't know why we're still even going through all this." But and then she was like, "No, I just need to see it for myself." And at the time, she was pregnant with my younger brother, and in Virginia, it was. I remember it being snowy, and I had a Honda Prelude, and I was like, "All right, Mom, we can go by this house, but I cannot be late to my flight because I was gonna move where my dad's at, and I don't like the cold." And so my dad was telling me on the phone once we reconnected and everything, "Oh, you're gonna love it here. You can wear flip-flops, you can wear your shorts, and I love running." And he's like, "You can run all year and just." And he's like, "And if you move out here, can you help me take care of your grandparents? Because my grandmother was getting dementia." And so that was like my forte. I love working with patients that have dementia and Alzheimer's. It's just, I don't know, it's just really cool to connect in that type of environment. But anyway, my mom and I were driving. We pull up to the house, and sure enough, there's James's car. And my mom again is pregnant, and she's like, "Okay, stay here. I'm gonna go in there, and I'll be right back." And I'm like, "Mom," because there was two other cars there, and I knew in my gut, I was really hoping that those weren't female cars because again, my mom was still married to James, and it's snowing. She goes in, and I'm like looking like at the time, like, what is taking so long? And so I go in there, and my mom is literally on, like, there's this big old bed, and there's James butt naked with two other girls that are butt naked, and my mom is on the bed fighting the girls, and then the girls are trying to fight my mom, and I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. And I had so much anger and rage just from how he treated me and treated my mom all those years. And now I'm at the age where, he can't hit me like he used to. And, I was working out, I was buff, and I was coherent. I wasn't a little kid anymore. And I was trying to break up the fight, and my mom is holding this girl by her hair, and it was just chaos. And the other girl is screaming, "I'm gonna call the police." And my mom's like, "Call them, call the police." And then I see James, and he just looks like a ghost. And I'm not a violent person. I don't know what came over me, but I just blacked out. There was a lamp, and I was trying to hit him with the lamp, and I know that's not the right thing to do, but I was just so angry. And um and so he's like blocking it, and I put the lamp down. I'm like, "Mom, we gotta go." And I grab my mom, and she's not letting go of the girls, and my mom's crying. My mom's face is all scratched up. And my mom's pregnant, by the way. I'm like, "Mom, we gotta get out of here. They're calling the cops." And so we get into the car. My mom's crying, and I don't like seeing people cry, but she is just crying. And I'm just like, "Mom, is this gonna be enough for you to finally leave this monster?" And I said, "Here, you can take the Honda Prelude, have it for free. I'm moving, take the car." And I said, "But Mom, promise me that you're not gonna go back to him. Like, promise me that." She went back to him. And so, anyway, I moved to where I'm at now. I haven't seen my mom since 2010, and we are in 2026. And the last thing I heard is that my mom is on the streets. She lost all of her teeth. She's just not doing good. And that hurts me because it's my mom. But anyway, so I moved out here, and I took care of my granddad. I would give him showers and, comb his hair and help him around the house. And my grandmother, she's the one that had dementia. And it was just weird. I was going into the refrigerator one day, and she's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Grandma, what are you doing in my house? Why are you in my refrigerator?" It's just wild. Like when you work in healthcare, it's wild, yes. But then when the idea is you clock out, you kind of leave your scrubs or whatever at the job site. But then when you are constantly in it, it's like I couldn't escape it. But so yeah, I've always loved helping people, and so I took care of my grandparents until they passed. I look at their relationship like The Notebook. If anyone's ever seen The Notebook, And oh my God, when my grandmother passed, my grandpa was just a mess. He didn't eat. He just hold his rosemary, and he was so angry at God. He was like, "Why did you take her? Why?" It was just sad to witness. And I think a week after that, after my grandmother passed, he went just like that. And what a whirlwind. So yeah, I that was trippy, really trippy, and it was hard for my dad to just see death and to see his parents deteriorate, as is I think it could be hard for anyone. So anyway, I after I did that, I did some like private duty, like hospice, not hospice, but it's called like right at home. And basically, what that is you go to the resident's house and you take care of them. And I liked that for a while, but I felt like lonely, like I missed talking to staff members, and because it's just you and the patient and whoever was at the house, like the family or whatnot. But anyways, I had some really cool patients, and I said, I kind of miss being in the field, like the facilities. And I went into a behavioral health hospital, and I would never, ever do that again. Oh my God. That was difficult because I work with adolescents, meaning just children and their stories, and just sad. And I also work with adults, but it was just really sad to witness the children. And I quickly got out of that because we would have codes every day and kids escaping and beating up staff. I mean, because we had these bracelets that we would wear, and those bracelets would get us in and out the doors, and they picked up quickly. The kids and the adults picked up quickly, and they were like attack us and take our bracelets and escape, and then we would have to run after them. It was just wild. And I was like, yeah, that's not for me. And then I just did more nurse. I did that for a while. So yeah, healthcare has always been in my blood. And then I went to nursing school after my last relationship because I just needed to clear my head. And nursing school for me was a journey. It's fucking difficult, especially OB. That was one of my hardest subjects. And here we are about the rebirth of the inner child. It's pretty interesting how it all just kind of connects. And PPE, that was also very challenging for me. And here we are. That's why I wear the gown, because I don't have a gown on right now because that would look kind of interesting. They probably think I escaped a psych unit or something. But the gown is my medicine, meaning I'm not here to be looked at my body. I'm not here. I'm a patient of my own medicine. And what is that? Movement. Movement is my medicine. And so I was a go-go dancer for a while just to make extra cash. And I liked go-go dancing until I didn't because they wanted you to wear like thongs, and I just wasn't into that. One, they're very uncomfortable. And it's unfortunate, but I get it. When you put yourself out there on those type of platforms, you're just looked at, and you're just looked at for what you got on going on downstairs, if you know what I mean. And that to me just doesn't sit right. Like I don't want to be looked at as a sex symbol. But working at the bars, I knew that came with the territory. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And yeah, I was just, and I also feel like when I was go-go dancing, I felt like I was in deja vu. Like I would see the same people come in the bar every weekend, do the same thing, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. So anyway, I I think I was at my breaking point. There was a moment where we're dancing, and then one of the customers kind of gets out of hand, and they would touch us and pull us off the boxes and trying to put their fingers in certain places. Just wild. And anyway, so one night I was dancing, and on Tuesdays I would always call my dad, and he did not like me being a go dancer. Part of the reason because he was like, "Don't you have to be up at 5 in the morning to be at work, and you're not getting home till like 1 in the morning? That's not good for you." And I'm like, "Dad, I know, but I gotta pay bills. I gotta." So I was a full time student in nursing school and working my nursing jobs and go dancing, like trying to make ends meet. And if you get it, you get it. But yeah, I don't know where all that energy came from, but I was just like a workaholic. But I just liked staying busy. And so anyway, I would call my dad on Tuesday nights, and it was really beautiful to talk to my dad. But he would tell me, um, I'm having stomach pain. I'm my hearing's not as good, and I would just say, "Dad, you need to go to the hospital. Not the hospital. Dad, you need to go to the doctor." And my dad's famous line was, "I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow, son. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow." And ever since my mom left my dad, he hasn't been with a soul since. And his drinking just got to a couple beers to a 24 pack of beer a night. And then he would do chewing tobacco, and his body just, and he wasn't exercising. He would just sit in the recliner and watch Fox News and cops. And so it was sad. It was just sad to witness my dad like that, because my dad would pick me up, and he was my Superman. So anyway, um, there was one night where I was dancing, and I went to get my pay, and they said, "Oh, you're not on the schedule." And I'm just like, I was literally just dancing for 4 hours on a box. Sorry, you're not on the schedule." And I was so angry. So I called my boss, and I'm like, can you help me understand? I was literally dancing on the box for 4 hours, and they were saying they're not going to pay me. And they figured it out, and I got paid, but it's like I had to go through all of that. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm done with that. But on a side note, I was teaching at LA Fitness called Zumba, and it was not Zumba, but that's what they called it. And that's really where I started to build this community of embodiment. And it was so beautiful because I didn't follow the rules, so to speak. When what happens is they give you a Zen CD once you were certified, and they want you to teach those specific songs. And they're beautiful songs, but I couldn't really understand it because a lot of it was Latin. And for me to really like to understand anything, I have to understand the English or have to understand the language, so to speak. And so my aunt, she took me to this Zumba class, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is so much fun." And I kept going, and I was like, "Aunt, I think I want to do this." And she's like, "Well, you should, go up there." And the instructor, her name was Lisa. What a cool instructor. And like she would wear like this cool like belt that had like these I don't know what you want to call it, like not chains, but like I can't think what they were called. But anyway, she'd move her hips and it would make this really cool sound, and she would play like Little John. And I'm like, okay, this is badass. And I really kind of want to get out the go-go life. So I'm like, what else can I do? And so I went up to Lisa one night, and I was like, "Oh my God, I love your class, and it's so amazing. And how do I become a Zumba instructor?" And she told me what I needed to do. And then I tried out, and then you get your license. And I got my first gig at LA Fitness, and it was on a Sunday morning. And I'm like, who the freak comes to the gym on Sunday mornings? Apparently, a lot of people do, which is good. Move the body, right? And so I had my first class. I was scared shitless, and only two people showed up. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is not for me. And so I was dating someone at the time, and it was just kind of rocky, and I needed to clear my head. So what I do best, I put on my headphones and I went into the bathroom and I just moved my body in the mirror. And I was like, you know what? I want to do Britney Spears, Work Bitch, and Rihanna, Where Have You Been All My Life? Not all my life, but Where Have You Been? And I said, the next time I go to my class on Sunday, I'm going to add these songs. And I did. Not only that, those beautiful ladies, they brought more people. I'm like, oh my God, how cool. And I think it was, I don't know, like 6 or 7 of us, but you always, start somewhere. And it kind of started growing. And I got a new location. And I really like this new location because it's right near the campus of the college, like the young town. And I was like, yes, because I think I was like 24, 25 when all this was going down. And oh my God, probably one of the funnest memories of my lifetime was just connecting with so many beautiful people and different shapes, different backgrounds, different skin colors. And it just felt like we were one. And I met my closest friends. We're still friends to this day. And I believe it's all about connection, it's all about energy. And, And so I started to slowly take away the Zumba songs and started adding my own flavor. I would add like um, a lot of remixes, a lot of remixes that you can really get down to and get sweaty. Like Britney, of course, but like remixes to Britney, Rihanna, Diplo, David Guetta, Lady Gaga, Calvin Harris, Ariana Grande. I mean, so many artists. I can go on and on about the artists that I would just connect with. And we weren't doing choreography. And I think choreography is beautiful. But I also feel like so is embodied expression, especially for my brothers. And in this space, it wasn't all females, it wasn't all men, it was just a mix. It was literally, it seemed like 50-50 to the point where I would split the class up. I would have, okay, ladies on this side, okay, brothers on the, I mean, I said men at the time, but on this side, we were like bow to each other. It was so much fun. But that came with venom. And what is venom? Negative energy. And I feel like I was always getting in trouble. Meaning my boss, her name was Barbie, how ironic. And God, I feel like she just was always out to get me. But like I stated, I think I've stated this before, but you can't please everyone. And I found out very quickly. And so what will happen, and I get it, because on the schedule at Only Fitness, it says Zumba at 7 p.m. I get it. It was not Zumba. I totally understand that. So what would happen? People would come in and the classes were starting to get packed. And I was just so humbled. And I just loved the connection that I was making with my friends. But anyway, people would go to the front and say, that's not Zumba. I don't like that music. Where's the Zumba music? And then I would get a call from Barbie. What kind of music are you playing? I would say, oh, I'm playing this, I'm playing that. No, you can't play that. You got to stick to the Zen CD, the Zen music that you have. And I was just like, ugh. And I didn't do it because I'm just like, it's not. That's in my brain. I was thinking, Barbie, if you were only here to see the energy that this other music brings, and not saying that other music doesn't bring good energy, but I couldn't really get into it. So if I'm instructing it, my brain goes, I need artists that I can vibe with to connect with, but that wasn't happening. And I would cut my shirts to crop tops because I'm like, oh, we're fitness instructors. Don't we want to represent like having taken care of our bodies? Nope. She was call me. I feel like I was always on the phone with Barbie. And she would call me and she would like, you can't cut your shirts. You can't do this, you can't do that. So I feel like I've always been walking on eggshells until the ER playground has been built. And so, and I would get in trouble if I didn't clock out. And so what I do is when I hear the music, I just channel it. I don't think about, oh, should I move this way or am I doing these steps? I just release. And with that being said, I'm not counting how many people are in my class because that's what you're supposed to do. I get it. You're supposed to count how many people are in your class. And then at the end of the class, which I feel like knowing what I know now, I wish it was the other way around because when class is over, I'm like on a cloud 1,000, like just the dopamine and the energy. I am not thinking about how many people are in my class. But I will say, I know I was maxed out because I would get in trouble again because they were saying it's a fire hazard. I get it. I get it. And so we started to have people had to start getting like hole punches or like numbers. But so the mirrors would get all sweaty, and I would get in trouble from the yoga. Not in trouble, but she would complain that the floors are soaking wet, and just it was always something. And but I loved it. I loved it so much. I loved just connecting with beautiful, beautiful people, and they would come up to me after class and state, "I don't have to take my antidepressant anymore," or "I can fit in my wedding dress," and it was just so beautiful. And I actually had a couple that met in my Zumba class, and they got married, and they have 3 kids, and my friends, their name is Dee and Roth, and they didn't know each other until my class. And why am I stating all this? Because of the energy. I believe what we put out comes back. So anyway, um, but life happens, and I got into new relationships, and I wasn't living as close as I was, and people, start doing their own thing, and the crew, they didn't come as much anymore because again, life happens. They have kids and so forth and so on. And I I love my friends, yes, and I believe everyone deserves to be treated with respect. And so my friend Desiree, she stopped coming to LA Fitness, but she would come when I had my classes. And being an instructor, you can have 2 people come for free. So anyway, I was already like up to here with LA Fitness because I was only making $13 an hour and I'm having like maxed out classes and I didn't understand why I wasn't getting paid more. But I didn't really care about the money. I just loved doing it. But it takes a toll, meaning like, well, I need to get new shoes and, just things of that nature. And so I wanted to get paid more. And very corporate, very corporate. And so I was just, I don't know, I was getting angry because what do you call it? The trainers, they would come to me like, okay, bro, Leo, 'cause that's my first name, Leo. Okay, we got these new people coming. Like, I want to show them your class and then tell them to come, work out with us. And I wasn't getting no commission from that. I'm like, I'm helping out all of these people and I feel like I'm not getting anything back in return. So eventually that kind of got old. And I was tired of getting in trouble by Barbie. And there's been times where she deliberately canceled my class because I forgot to clock out. And she would come watch my class. And I just felt like I was walking on pins and needles. So, anyway, right before my dad passed, I quit LA Fitness because my friend Desiree came in. She was like, "Hey, Leo, I'm here." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll be right out to get you." And also, little side note, we had CDs back then, so I would burn music onto CDs, and then sometimes the CDs would scratch, and that would be so annoying. The CDs were scratch, and like you're in the middle of the song, and I would be, I don't know, and I don't know if embarrassed, but I would be frustrated because this is a big class, and we're all getting down, and the CD starts scratching, and I'm like, fuck. I mean, fudge. Or when I call them dongalas, but the new Apple ports for your phone. I can't tell you how many times I lost them or I forgot them, and I would pray to God that someone would in class would have them, and uh, they did. Normally, it worked out. Or I would run up to the front desk if I couldn't get because they had the stereo locked, and you had to put in the code. It was just a lot. But anyway, so she calls me and she's like, "They're not letting me in." And I go to the front and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she's like, "Your friend's giving me attitude, and she can't come. She can't come back there." Some new chick, just being rude and disrespectful, and that was the last straw. So I quit LA Fitness, and I'm like, I'm gonna start my own thing, and that was challenging because I have no marketing background, but I knew that I wanted to start my own dance gig, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And so, if anyone knows this feeling of just trying to prove yourself, and I wanted to prove myself so bad. So, getting ready to graduate nursing school, I leave LA Fitness, and then my aunt calls me on the phone. Well, first she sends me a text. She's like, "Hey, are you driving?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, can you pull over somewhere?" And I pull over in this little shopping center, and she was like, um, "So your dad has stage 4 colon cancer." And at first I thought I was not hearing her right. And I'm like, "What?" And then she's like, I don't know how bad it is, but um I think, we should be a little concerned, and we should go talk to him. And but I found out in October that he had colon cancer and he died in September. Just like that. It's so just even when I think about it, the human body, how quickly the human body deteriorates is just wild, so wild. And I was so angry. I was so angry at so many different things. But anyway, my I was graduating nursing school, and I remember seeing my dad. Like the last time I saw my dad, he came to my apartment that I had. I was really proud of myself for getting the apartment. I didn't think I was gonna get it because credit, and I'm like, yeah, right. I'm not gonna get approved for this, and I did. Thank God. And we had like a little graduation party, and I thought my dad had a beer belly. I didn't know it was backed up stool, but ugh, my poor dad. But yeah, his belly was just packed with stool, colon cancer. And I didn't know that at the time. And I had to help him up and to the apartment. And my dad was just really proud, and it was just really nice for him to see what we accomplished. And I say we because my dad is a huge inspiration to me. But anyway, so after my graduation little party, his health just went. He got into the hospital, and I was in the process of studying for the NCLEX. And trying to study for NCLEX is already like, whoa. But then on top of that, hearing that my dad had colon cancer and just other life things, like I had a roommate and they wanted to be more than a roommate, and I didn't really know how to deal with that situation. So there was a lot. Being a human, I guess. And I went to go visit my dad in the hospital, and it was so just what a scene. Just seeing my dad in the hospital. I never would have thought what I'm witnessing, and just seeing him and seeing him hooked up to the IV, and seeing him having a bedpan and a urinal, and just wild. And seeing like the communication board with the doctor and the nurse and the patient, and I was just like, whoa, this is wild. So anyway, um they told me that his kind of, I don't know how to say this, but his time at the hospital kind of ran up, and they're like, we can put him in a assistant living. And I was like, okay, we can put him like in an assistant living until we figure out a game plan. And so we put him in an assistant, I don't want to say it's assistant living, but it's a home, and it has a couple bedrooms, and you have a nurse there, and then you have a caregiver. And I don't know what the caregiver did, but fuck. Anyway, so my aunt calls me and she was like, Leo, I think you should go check on your dad. I don't think he's getting good care. And right before that, I talked to the nurse, and I trusted her. And I was like, oh, she gets it. Right. And I don't know. I was just really disappointed in how they treated my dad. So I drive up to the house where my dad was staying at. I unannounced because I wanted to catch him in action. And of course, I was hoping for the best. And so the caregiver is on his phone watching TV as my dad has a urine that's full. He has been rotated because his sheets were soiled. And I'm just like, come on. Like, you don't even like, not even to be like in the medical world. It's just common courtesy. Like, I don't understand it. But anyway, my dad was just like, I want to go home. I don't want to be here. And I'm just like, Dad, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to take care of you. Um, but okay. So I call my aunt, and my aunt comes up, and she is just like, okay, maybe we can put him on hospice because we need equipment. We need the beds, we need the meds, and so forth. And I was just beside myself. If anyone's ever taken care of a family member, it's not easy. So anyway, we took my dad to this condo, and we had hospice, but hospice didn't come till later on that week. Um, and so I just I gave him my all. And I think the hardest, I mean, a lot of it was just challenging, but telling my dad I don't my dad wanted to eat, and he wanted like food that he would normally eat, and I was like, Dad, I don't we can't have that. You'll choke. And don't tell me what I can and cannot eat. And just his mood swings were like a roller coaster. Or when he wanted to go to the bathroom, and telling him, Dad, I don't know if you're strong enough to go to the bathroom. And he was like, I want to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, all right, Dad, let's go to the bathroom. And of course his body was just too weak, and it was just hard. And yeah, I was there, saw him take his last breath, and I went into depression. Which is so wild because when I was taking care of patients that had depression, I would tell myself, "Oh my God, I would never get depressed." And who was I kidding? And so I was so angry. I was angry at myself that I didn't do enough. And but I mean, what can I do? Like, I think I've learned you never want to tell someone that they have a drinking problem, right? Because I feel like that just makes it worse. And, but I had this story in my head that I should have been there more, but I don't know how, I don't know what else different I could have done. I told him so many times, Dad, go walk to Fry's. It's right across the street. Get some exercise, drink some water. I'll do it tomorrow. Is what my dad would always say. But tomorrow ran out. So anyway, my aunt and I, we would do different shifts. I did the night shift. I would try to study for NCLEX, and I had to put that on hold because I couldn't. My dad needed me. The boards were always going to be there, and I was just by his side until the very end. And I'm really grateful for that moment because I also know that not everyone gets that opportunity to see their loved ones go. We had this patient, and the staff would say, "Oh, he's such a grump," and I just wanted to know him, and I just wanted to ask him more questions, and he said, "Well, an alcoholic not alcoholic, a drunk driver hit my family and I on Christmas and killed my wife and my daughter." Oh, I would be angry at the world too. Even though it's not the world's fault, but it's just you just never know what people are going through. So anyway, um, my dad passed on a Monday. I was supposed to take boards on a Tuesday. Clearly, I was like, "There's no way I'm taking NCLEX." And I thought, I don't know, I guess I was in a fantasy world where I thought the NCLEX, the boards would be so understanding and you could reschedule. No, I had to pay an extra $500 again, or however much it was. I think it was like $300. But all the tools I was using. So I guess I was also angry at healthcare because I'm like, are you kidding me? You know how many things I have sacrificed? Not including my fucking body, but just the time and the energy. They don't care. It's a system, right? And unfortunately, you're replaceable. So anyway, um, I didn't really have time to grieve my father's passing because I really wanted to stay strong for my aunt because it's like, I don't know, it's like, how can I say this? My dad and his sister had a really powerful bond, and I didn't wanna feel weak around my aunt, so I just stayed strong. But I remember when he passed, I put on my dad's jacket, I went into the bathroom, and the tears would flow, and I would just suck it up because hospice had to come, not hospice, but yeah, hospice had to come just make sure he was dead, and the morgue had to come, and it was such a process. And yeah, so I I stopped working out, I stopped moving my body, I just went into a dark space. And I don't know if anyone can relate to that, whoever's here, I'm just talking to myself. But um so anyway, I was trying to do my dance studio again. I'm like, I need to get on my feet. And it was really challenging because there's a lot that goes with it, with trying to own your own studio. And I was getting exhausted from that because I feel like I was always walking on eggshells. uh, the music's too loud. The last studio I was at, I was getting noise complaints, and I wasn't even using both speakers. In the studio before that, the guy would forget to text me the code, and we were waiting outside, and it's always something. And I'm like, I just need to create my own space where I can just be myself and where I can just heal, honestly. And so, yeah, my dad was like that spark. It's almost like in Spider-Man where um, Peter Parker loses his uncle, or where Batman loses his parents in the alley. And mine was losing my dad to cancer. And how Rattlebones kind of happened is I got invited to a Halloween party, and it was like last minute. I wasn't even going to go, and I went to Spirit Halloween, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a skeleton. How cool!" And I thought it was funny because it has like a skeleton, and I thought it was hilarious. But even before that, when I went to raves like Coachella and EDC, I was always fascinated with like cool masks and outfits. And so I was actually on TikTok, and I had my shirt off, and it was also at this time I was in my leadership program, and they were talking about your higher self, your survivor self, and your wounded self. And to put that in my own terms, I believe we're all good. I believe we have been programmed or conditioned to judge what we don't understand, especially this green dot. It feels like when you go live, I don't know, Venom thinks that you are a garbage disposal. And just a quick reminder, you're talking to a screen. But we have been programmed and conditioned to think, oh, someone's live. I can just dump my emotional, unprocessed energy. And no, it's just a reflection. So anyway, I, you know, I was, I say, like, but I was eating crumble cookies. And at the time when I was working out 24/7, that didn't phase me. But when I stopped working out, I was like, oh shit. Okay. And not that I was fat or obese or anything, but I didn't have my, I don't know, six pack. And I felt it. And I did not like how I felt. But quick little story, when we were in my leadership program, we did this body movement piece. And I thought, oh, how cool, body movement. No. How it worked was there was a group of us, men and females, and it was a sacred circle, meaning we're not here to fix, we're not here to judge, we're here to hold a space. And everyone that was in my circle, they got up and they talked about their body. Females talked about their bodies, and what I can share is especially a lot of females that after they give birth, they just have this, I don't know, this bad relationship with their body. Like they don't look like they used to, or how can I say this? One of my cohorts, she was a cheerleader in high school, and she got pregnant, and she just didn't feel sexy in her body. And I did not think that was funny. No one thought that was funny. When my brothers got up, they talked about their abuse, how their dads would beat them with belts, and how they would get burnt with cigarettes. So, brothers, I hear you. And it just awful, 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 awful. And then I got up and told my story, and I started with my tattoos, how my tattoos, they're not random, they tell a story. Like this snake, I got this snake right after my father passed because I needed something to numb out, I guess. And I went for a run at Town Lake, and then I got a tattoo, not really knowing, and I'm terrified of snakes. Well, and so anyway, I got this really cool snake tattoo. I told the tattoo artist I want a snake. I guess I wanted to face my fears. I wanted a snake on my forearm. Again, Dr. Rattle and Rattlebee was not even a thought at the time. So I guess just the breadcrumbs. So anyway, and then I talked about 1954. That was the year my dad was born. Then I talked about my band around my wrist, just for equal rights. Everyone to get treated fairly and equally. I talked about Mariah because I have Mariah tattooed because I love Mariah Carey. I love how she just tells a story. There's really good storytelling. Of course, I love her voice, but then I have angel wings and so forth. So just kind of telling my story, then talking about, um, I have a mark between my back where I got hit from my mom's boyfriend. Belt cut my back open, and I talked about this big scar that I have in my leg. I saw a dead snake, well, first I thought the snake was real, and I ran and I tripped over a wired fence. I was like 9 or 10 at the time. But anyway, we were just in this secret space and everyone was just talking about their journey, about their body and God, and we were all just holding each other and just being there for one another. And so back to TikTok, I had my shirt off, and it's interesting how Venom likes to play. It spits when they're not even showing who they are. So anyway, Venom spitted, go back to the gym and put a shirt on, and I'm like, so I couldn't believe it. I literally couldn't believe it. And the same thing on TikTok where I was talking about my childhood and Venom spitted, oh yeah, you deserve it. And I'm just like, what kid deserves to be hit? Matter of fact, what human deserves to be hit? I'll speak for myself. No one deserves to be hit or deserves to be treated unkindly, but here we are. Anyway, I ran to the mirror. I looked at my body. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not fat. And, but it just happens just like that because I feel, and then I get angry with my own personal stuff that these platforms allow this toxicity to hit nervous systems, especially working in behavioral health, especially working with adolescents and seeing kids that will self harm. And here we are. And it's just like, why? Why do we think that this is okay? It's not. And I tell myself, well, if I have a Rattle Patch kid that just wants to move their body freely, I don't want venom slithering in here being toxic because what good does that do? Especially for men, because men have been told, don't cry, don't do this, hold it all in. And here, it's like saying holding in your urine or your stools. Like when you have to go to the bathroom, you go, right? Getting out the body. So why have we been told to hold in emotion? Hmm. Anyway, so I said, you know, I can't do this TikTok thing or even this chat thing because it's like, how does the human brain communicate with all of that fast? Like, how is that even a real connection? How is that even like? Does anyone talk to their friends like that? Oh, blah, 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 blah. It's like being in a room with 20 people and you're trying to talk to 20 people and you're trying to answer this question and this question. I mean, like, what is that? To me, that is just not good for the brain, especially if it's toxic energy, especially if we think that that energy is ours to carry and it's not. So I said I need to, I don't want my skin to be looked at. And you know, in some countries, they actually cover head to toe. And I'm like, I see why, because it's just outrageous how we have been conditioned to judge the skin, but deep down, we're all the same. Hint to bone. So, anyway, Rattlebee. So after that day, I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna move my body, I don't want to be looked at my skin. I need a suit. And then I was looking at the Skeleton. I'm like, hmm, I wonder if I can put this on, but I don't want to call it Skeleton. And so I didn't really think of the name Rattlebones until I would get up in the morning and my bones would just be popping. I'm like, why are my bones popping so much? And I thought, oh, because I'm not running enough or I'm not working out enough. And so my bones just kept popping. And then we have this Jeep, and my partner was like, there's this rattle in the back of the Jeep that we can't figure out. And I'm like, rattle? Huh. And when I was at my leadership program, I was in this really cool teepee, and then there was this rattler. And so that's kind of how Rattlebones got discovered and rebirthed. And then I put on the skeleton suit, and the rest is kind of history. And so this is all about just showing up for myself, showing up for my inner child. And then for our final project, I had to work with humans outside of YouTube. And I did my Rattle R experiment. And that's when I had a male and a female, and we did solistic healing, holistic inquiry, and they rebirthed their rattle suits, and they rebirthed their inner child, and it was just so beautiful to witness. So that is how this all came about, and um, yeah, this is medicine for me. And what so let's talk about the vibration and the sound. I don't know if it shows or not, but when I go live, when I was using music from other artists, I would get pop-ups, copyright, and that would scare the crap out of me. And I didn't know because, like I stated, well, I didn't state, but I'm about to state, I don't really know how YouTube worked, and I thought, oh, it's a free for all. You can just use music, and how cool. Yeah, because if you keep getting copyright, you can get strikes. And if you keep getting strikes, if you get 3 strikes, they'll shut down your YouTube, just like that. So I'm like, all right, I am so tired of walking on eggshells. I just need to start creating my own sound. And so, um, even when I do shorts, like I would create shorts on TikTok, and I thought I'll be okay because some of the shorts, the music I was using was remixed, and so I uploaded on YouTube, blocked, globally blocked, muted. You know how frustrating that is? And so my partner is working on an album and told me about this really cool this tool. I'm like, oh. And I'm like, I'm gonna start creating my own sound and I'll have Rattlebee express it. Kind of like how producers create sound for your favorite artist, but you don't see the producers on the stage, you see the artists. Probably all your favorite artists use tools. And so Rattleby and I, we write from the soul, we write from the heart, just personal things like love and mainly love, like love. Like love is just pours out of me and just personal things that I've been through. And I try to create vibration that is unisex, meaning hopefully every human being can relate to it. And the vibration is high frequency. So the X2 represents amped, soul, God, angels, whatever you believe in, a higher source, whatever sparked this beautiful earth that we live on. That is what Rattleby expresses. And it's scary. I think it's way more scarier to create sound because I'm used to getting down to Rihanna and all these artists that I've been listening to for 37 years. So it's different for me. But it's almost like a baby bird and flying on its own and just trusting the process and trusting the unknown. And then it's like I have to trust that the moon is going to shine tonight and that the sun is going to rise tomorrow morning, so I just need to trust the process. And so I know it's not for everyone, hence why I'm making it for myself. I know that sounds selfish, but I can't please people anymore. And I think that's part of death of the ego. I was watching Lady Gaga uh documentary on Netflix and she was talking about she wasn't talking, but she was I don't really know how to explain how she did it, but she did her song Perfect Illusion, and the playback would be other people's opinions on it. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. It's just the way it is. But that's what Rattleby and I express. So anyway, that is how this all came about. For those who are here, thank you. I can't really tell who's here, who isn't. And I don't really look at the comments because I'm channeling all this and it can be a distraction. So don't take it personally. You're seen and you're loved here. Um, but yeah, hopefully, I mean, it made sense to me just to get it out of my body. And if you're on this journey with me, thank you. And it's not been easy, but I feel like that's what makes it a journey. And I tell myself, maybe someone can relate to this. And that to me, it's worth it. Um, so anyway, I believe kindness goes a long way. I believe what you put out is just energy and is a reflection. And um, tomorrow we're going to show up again, uh, and again and again and again, because again, movement is my medicine. And Rattleby is my inner child superhero, and I'm not going to abandon him anymore. Uh, so yeah, that's that. Tomorrow we are going to do My Lover that Rattleby and I have birthed, and it's a love song for all my lovers out there. Especially, and you don't have to be in a relationship to love it. I feel like the most beautiful relationship you can have is with yourself. Because I believe, I mean, just hearing my journey, like my mom, she was in love, but she didn't love herself. She let a man beat her for years and cheat on her left and right. And I feel like, when you love yourself, when you're compassionate for yourself and treat yourself kindly, that energy attracts. So, with that being said, I feel like just loving yourself, like looking at yourself in the mirror and just like taking, like, I don't know, just smiling at yourself and like, oh my God, I'm so beautiful. And I don't mean that to be conceited, but I believe everyone is beautiful. I believe everyone is just so talented and in their own right. Yeah. So, anyway, that is what we got for today. For those who are here, thank you so much. Sending you love and have a beautiful night. And we'll see you in the ER playground. Yeah.